So, last week we ended with Jesus saying to the disciples, be merciful, even as your Father in heaven is merciful. Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be returned to your lap. For with the measure you give, it will be given to you. He also told a parable. How can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? And a disciple is not above his teacher. But everyone, when they are fully trained, will be like their teacher. Why do you say to your brother, you have a speck in your eye? Let me get that out. While you don't see the log that is in your own eye. How can you say to your brother, let me get that speck out of your eye, when you don't see this log in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take out the speck that is in your brother's eye. A good tree does not bear bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree produce good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. Figs aren't gathered from thorn bushes, are they? Nor are grapes picked from a bramble bush. A good person, out of the good treasure in their heart, produces good. And again, an evil person, out of his evil treasure, produces evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The reading of God's Word, and the church says, Amen. Blessed be God. Brenda, can I borrow my Bible? In our sermon workshop last week, we discussed the fact that we've always read this section of Luke as a set of bullet points. Like somebody just collected some sayings of Jesus and scrunched them all together. But what I really wanted our hearts to get from this passage this week is an understanding that this all goes together. In fact, the reality is, I had initially picked not to begin with, be merciful even as your Father is merciful, because we had talked about it last week. But we realized that that was the bookend to this section. And they needed to all be together. And then we discussed the fact that the really and truly, we got to do a couple of chapters. They need to be read together. This all fits together. My challenge to you, my request of you, is that you would go back to Luke chapter 6 and spend some time soaking in these chapters as we discuss what it means to follow Jesus. I would like for you to spend some time concentrating on what Jesus is challenging us to do and to be. And what I really want to focus on from this passage today comes only out of verse 45. Let me read it to you from the Net Bible. The good person, out of the good treasury of his heart, produces good, and the evil person, out of his evil treasury, produces evil. For the mouth speaks from what fills the heart. For the mouth speaks from what fills the heart. I've been listening to a powerful ebook this week. I would like to recommend to you, N.T. Wright wrote a trilogy of books. It starts with Simple Christian. It ends with After You Believe. And N.T. Wright's calling Christians to regain an understanding of the concept of virtue. The concept of virtue. Virtue being not just all the good things we're supposed to do, but virtue being the actual character of God living in us and through us. That we, from within our hearts, live out what God has called us to do and be. And one of the things that he's really challenging me on, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through the book right now, is the idea that we in American Christianity have kind of forgotten. We've kind of allowed talk about not being a legalistic, rules-based religion make us think that somehow we just spontaneously become good when we become Christian. And I think this passage in Luke really reinforces the idea. Jesus is not just saying to us, well, either you've got it or you don't. Well, either you're a good tree or a bad tree. Don't you read this passage and think about this as though Jesus is challenging us to be good trees? That Jesus is actually saying to us, look at your life, examine yourself, challenge yourself, ask yourself, who are you? And how are you going to live? I'm not picking on the teenagers, but I'm thinking right now because my math teacher wife has been complaining at home as she's grading papers of how rampant cheating is in the schools right now. Even at a Christian school. Are you with me, church? We don't think, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, that how we behave matters. But I'm telling you, my favorite part of the conversation with my wife is last night she said, you know, I mentioned to this one student's parent in a parent-teacher meeting that they were cheating on their homework. And that student stopped cheating on the homework. And guess what? Their grade went up on their next quiz. Isn't that amazing? That actually choosing to do the right thing might benefit us. But adults, haven't we also learned the lesson that sometimes doing the right thing costs us? And yet, doing the right thing is always the right thing. Yes? Yes. And so, when we talk about following Jesus, we're asking ourselves, what's in your heart? I told the sermon workshop I was going to put up a picture of Samuel Jackson and what's the lady's name? Jennifer Garner. I actually did it. I put it together. I had a really cheesy looking picture, and so I got rid of it, and I went through 3 more pictures. And I landed on this one. I asked Brenda, and Brenda said, yep, that's the one. Because there is something we love about the innocence of a child's heart. Yes, church? There's something, now, look. Children can also make us crazy.
Amen.
Yes. Amen. Children also have the ability to appear greatly evil. Oh, you are a godly man. Thank you so much. I like you. Oh, that's good. Thank you. Tastes terrible, but it feels great. Children can also appear evil, but the truth of the matter is there is something in our minds about the innocence of a child's soul and the reality that they have not yet been corrupted. And I believe Jesus is calling us to regain that when he says, unless you become like little children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And so I'm saying to us, church, this morning, I'm challenging you. Go and sit in this passage. Ask yourself, can a blind person lead a blind person? Don't I want to seek counsel in my life from people who can see where the road is going to take me? It's an important challenge. When I look through this whole passage, when I examine what it means to produce good fruit, when I think about the fact that forgiving others does in fact make me a more forgiving person and predispose people to be more forgiving towards me. When I think about the fact that condemning people makes me an obnoxious person and hard to be around, but not condemning them, showing them mercy even when they deserve to be condemned, does in fact make people more inclined to not condemn me when I fail. And yet, Jesus challenges us, even with those thoughts echoing in our ears, but be the kind of tree that produces good fruit. Because it's not all about you and I. It is about representing God, representing Jesus in this world as he deserves to be represented. I want you to let these words resonate in you all week long. And if you have to choose only one set, one phrase to echo in your head, let it be that verse 36, the first one I recited today. Be merciful just as your Father is merciful. Let that echo in your head. Now I'm going to pay you back some time I took away from you last week and invite you to stand and say a prayer with me. I put this prayer over 3 slides. Okay, that's not it. I think I failed to delete some. Can you fast forward? I sure hope we've got the right one here. Go to the next slide. And the next one. And the next one. There we go. That's not right either. Go to the next one. Is that it? It's on Facebook. I am so sorry.
We can pull it up.
Wow. No, only half of you can pull it up. What happened? I don't know what happened.
That's the last slide.
Okay, well, can you open Facebook?
There you go, Josh.
This is great. I want to if you can open Facebook, we can put it up from Facebook. I'm so sorry. That's really embarrassing. I don't know what my computer was doing. Somehow I emailed the wrong slide. Well, thank you. When it comes to any luck?
It's taking forever.
Just to open Facebook on the computer. All right, let me read it to you while she's working on it, and then you can read it back to me. If you have your Facebook page open and you want to read it with me, feel free. This is the Prayer of Simplicity by Thomas à Kempis. Thomas à Kempis was born in the mid-1300s, died in the early 1400s. This is a prayer that he wrote. Grant me, O Lord, to know what I ought to know, to love what I ought to love, to praise what delights you most, to value what is precious in your sight, to hate what is offensive to you. Do not suffer me to judge according to the sight of my eyes, nor to pass sentence according to the ears of ignorant men, but to discern with a true judgment between things visible and spiritual, and above all, always to inquire what is the good pleasure of thy will. No luck?
I don't have internet.
Oh, we got no internet. All right, did y'all like the prayer? Okay, let's do it one more time. Those of you who have internet, or who have Facebook, all of you who have your Facebook open right now killed the internet for the computer. Listen to it. It's on Facebook. I'll send it out in a remind as well. The problem with the remind text is you've got to click on the link to get it to open. If I send it out in remind, it won't come as part of the text. All right. Grant me, O Lord, to know what I ought to know, to love what I ought to love, to praise what delights you most, to value what is precious in your sight, to hate what is offensive to you. Do not suffer me to judge according to the sight of my eyes, nor to pass sentence according to the ears of ignorant men, but to discern with a true judgment between things visible and spiritual, and above all, always to inquire what is the good pleasure of thy will. Amen, church?
Amen.
Amen. Praise to you.